So, comrades, we are starting this session. As you all know, this session is regarding the topic of this session. It's Menace of communalism and its effects on working class. There is no need for introducing Comrade Ashok Dhawale. Recently, just before our All India conference at Chennai, that is, I think it's there was a seminar on the day just before our conference. You might be heard what him and on that day. I'm now not taking much time. On behalf of Bank Employees Federation of India, I extend a very warm welcome to Comrade Dhawale. I request our Joint Secretary, Comrade P.H. Vinitha, to give a bouquet to him. Yes, comrades, so we are starting this session. I request Comrade Ashok Dhawale to address us.
So, our chairman, all the other office bearers, and all my dear friends. So today we already had two sessions, I think, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So this is the third and the last session of today. And then, of course, tomorrow you are having the other continuation of regarding your own bank employees, etc. Now, comrades and friends, this topic that we are going to take up, that is the danger of communalism, which, as all of us are aware, it is by far the most serious danger facing the entire country today. We are on the eve of the 2024 general elections. They are due any time in the month of April. And Mr. Narendra Modi is trying to see that he is re-elected for a third time. What exactly this entire communalism and its danger has done in the last 10 years, that is very clear in front of all of us. I think this note everybody has got, no? Regarding this communalism, this note that I had prepared. Now, due to lack of time, and since you already have that note with you, which you can study it carefully later on today evening. Very briefly, some of the points I will try to place. Because placing the entire note itself, it will take a lot of time, and as Comrade Anil correctly said, we would also like to have an interactive session in the question answers, discussion like that. So that will clear our ideas a little bit more than before also. So now, coming to the beginning of this communalism thing, right in the beginning, we have made a distinction between religion, communalism and secularism. Now, these are things that are generally known, but they are not as appreciated as they should be. You see, religiosity is a totally different thing. If you actually go and ask in India, all the people whom you know, that how many actually believe in religion, believe in God, what would your idea, how many percentage would that be? How many percent? 90? 99. Right. Maybe a little more. 99 point something, but maybe not less. So generally there are majority of people believe in religion, believe in God, whichever it is. The point is that when we are talking about the Bank Employees Federation of India, our union, or any other organization for that matter, even my All India Kisan Sabha, in which I am working, we do not oppose religion and religiosity per se. Let that be very clear. Our job is not to oppose religion, because simply it will be a very big losing battle. And there is no point in fighting a losing battle. You're right, no? What are we actually against? We are against when certain people, certain forces, certain political parties, certain organizations, when they misuse religion to create hatred for people of some other religion. That is where the problem comes in. And that is exactly what we call communalism. Communalism means when anybody uses religion to create hatred for people belonging to some other religion, and then that hatred does not stop at hatred. It goes into the sphere of violence, communal riots, bomb blasts, all these kind of violent activities. This is what happens when religion crosses over to communalism. And this is what we have to understand very clearly. There we totally draw a line and we take a clear position that no, communalism cannot be allowed. And now if you see the next question which I am going to ask, are all these 99 point whatever plus people who are believing in religion, are they necessarily communal? They are not necessarily communal. A large overwhelming majority of them are not communal. We can say that very clearly. And therefore, our stand is very clearly, yes, you can have religion in your house. You can have religion, how do you say? We say it's the relationship between God and man. That's how actually religion is defined. You can have your place of worship. That you can go, no question. It may be a temple, it may be a church, it may be a mosque, it may be a Gurudwara, it may be a Buddha Mandir as they say. All that you can do. But when you get politics into religion, public life and religion when you mix up, then that creates the conditions for communal feelings to grow, and that is the dangerous thing that we have to be very careful about. That's the second thing. Now regarding this, in this note, one very interesting discussion I have just opened up, so that you can, just try to understand how other people look at religion. In this we have given on page 2 what one of the very great thinkers have said about religion. And I have quoted certain passages written by Karl Marx. Why have I quoted Karl Marx? You see, for example, many of you must be aware, when you talk about Karl Marx and religion, generally what is the sentence that is thrown at us? What did Marx say about religion? That sentence is very well known. Religion is the opium of the people. Yes, he said that, no doubt about that. We are not denying that he said that. But here in the middle of the page, we have given a quotation. What exactly, as he said, he has said 3 more things before he said that it is the opium of the people. And what are those three things he has said in the same sentence? He has said, religious suffering is at one and the same time the expression of real suffering and a protest against real suffering. That's what he said. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. All these three things he has said. Marx talking about religion. He has said it is a sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, the soul of soulless, or it's also translated as the spirit of spiritless conditions. All these three things, they are positive. He has given a positive thing to religion. Yes, this is what religion is. And this we see in real life also. When the problems of the people grow, like drought, like massive unemployment, like some huge floods, etc., what happens? One thing 100% happens. The lines outside the places of worship, 100% they grow. Am I saying right or wrong? Isn't it? When difficulties take place, certainly people turn to religion, people turn to God to save us. Very simple thing. This all of us have done at one time when we were students. Before appearing for an exam, many of us have thought of God. That yes, now all right, we have studied whatever we have, but all the rest is in God's hands. That's how we say. So all that. So those before 10th exam, 12th exam, you see the lines before temples and mosques and churches, they grow. That is the point. But at the same time, later on he has said that all this is right. But eventually, Marx has said very clearly at the end, it is the opium of the people. In the sense that after a certain period, can really religion solve the material problems that you are facing? Problems of economic distress, problems of, for example, unemployment, so many other problems you are facing. But religion can at the most serve to sort of, what he said, opium, a kind of a false consciousness. You understand? For the time being you feel good. All right, I'm in a temple, I forget all my woes, all my sufferings. But then you have to come back to the real world. Isn't it? You cannot live in that false world all the time. You have to come back here. Therefore, that point is there. You understand? Now, this is for your consideration. Very interesting things there are over here. You understand? I am not at all forcing you to believe what you are reading. Marx himself was a very critical person, and he used to always say that you should criticize every single thing, including Marx also. You should question whether whatever is quoted here is right or whether it is wrong. Only through experience can you get it. Isn't it? So therefore, these are the points that we have said over here. This is just so that you get some kind of a new approach towards looking at religion, how exactly it should be looked at, etc. That is how we are saying. Now, when we come to the last point, secularism. Secularism is what we always stand for. And that is the separation of religion and politics. Separation of religion and public life. Separation of religion and government. You understand? That is what is the meaning of secularism as understood all over the world. All over the world. And that has a long history. We don't have time to go into that just now. But basically it means, And especially that is true in a multi-religious large country like India, where you have any number of religions and you have very big minorities, isn't it? For example, although 82% of the population is Hindu, 18% belongs to the other religions, which is mainly Muslim, Christians, then Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, all these various, some few Jews are also there. So different religions, they come to 18% of the Indian population. 18% means a huge amount, considering that the total population of India is around 140 crores. So it's a huge thing. We are talking about crores of people, not a few thousands. Now to keep such a country together, can you keep such a country together by regimenting everybody into a straitjacket of a single religion? Is it possible? It's humanly impossible. It cannot happen. You know, the classic example of our neighboring country, which is that? Pakistan. Classic example. No better example exists. They separated from India in 1947 basically on the point that yes, we are Muslims, we want our own Muslim country, that is Pakistan. You are Indians, that is most of you are Hindus, so you become Hindustan or India or whatever, but give us our freedom. Pakistan was born 14th of August 1947, but by a quirk of history, a huge chunk of Muslims were in the west, a huge chunk was in the east, one big chunk in Punjab, one in Bengal. So one became West Pakistan, the other became East Pakistan. All were Muslims. But eventually, in 1971, although they were Muslims, you know the entire history, I don't have to go into the details. When East Pakistan and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman won the general election, West Pakistanis were not prepared to cede power to him, because all along they had been enjoying power. The entire military was in West Pakistan, isn't it? And all these other fellows, right from Jinnah, and then you come to Ayub Khan, Yahya Khan, all these Bhutto, etc. All these people were from West Pakistan. And when the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman won the election, they refused to give power to him. And that is how the whole war started. India played a very good role in that, no doubt about it. And we supported them simply because lakhs of refugees from Bangladesh, that is East Pakistan, were coming into India. We could not really look after them. We already have a huge population of our own. And that is why that India-Pakistan war happened. And you know the stand that various other countries took, what the USA took, what the Soviet Union took at that time, supporting us, USA opposing us totally. You know, all that thing you remember. So therefore, at that particular point, although it was only one religion, Pakistan broke into two countries. Became Pakistan and Bangladesh. Got the point? So religion cannot be the basis for nationhood. That is the point I'm trying to hit at. There are many other examples all over the world also, where religion was not enough for keeping countries together. In spite of one religion, you had a situation where many countries broke up. Like Pakistan, other countries also broke up, although they had one same religion. That is the point. So secularism is important. There is no doubt about that. That is the point. Now, the whole question of communalism today in India, who represents the communal forces? Today we know that the main communal force in India is, of course, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the RSS. That has been the case right from pre-independence times, but it was not so effective at that time. Along with it, there are, of course, Muslim communal elements also today in India. The Muslim League is still there, although it is now basically limited to Kerala and partly Tamil Nadu, etc. You have a new organization, a new party called the MIM with its headquarters in Hyderabad, Telangana, but it is spreading its tentacles all over. You have an organization called the Jamaat-e-Islami, isn't it? So many such organizations are there, and the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha was there at one period of time during the pre-independence period and just after independence. But in course of time, the Hindu Mahasabha withered away. And today, Hindu Mahasabha is zero. Nobody knows also about it. All that space has been taken up by the RSS, which is the main Hindu communal organization in India today. And therefore, we are studying, although the other Muslim fundamentalist organizations also have certain characteristics in common with what I am going to say about the RSS. The main danger today before the entire country is naturally the RSS, for the very simple reason that however virulent, however militant the Muslim League becomes, or the MIM becomes, or the Jamaat-e-Islami becomes, or any other Muslim or even maybe Christian organization becomes, can they ever come into state power in India today? Can they come? Can an MIM or a Muslim League leader become the Prime Minister of India? Can they become the Chief Minister of India also? Difficult. So they cannot, simply because their population is much less. And in an electoral democracy, naturally, those who are in a majority will naturally come into power. And we have a situation where Hindu communalism is today in power in India today. For the last 10 years it has been under Mr. Narendra Modi. Earlier also from 98 to 2004, it was in power, although not with a clear majority. Who was the Prime Minister at that time? Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Isn't it? Earlier, their ministers were there, although the Prime Minister they did not have. So, the Hindu communal elements can come into state power. They have come into state power. No other minority communal organization has the strength to come into state power in India. That is a fact. And that is why on page 3, if you see the note, we have very briefly outlined 7 characteristics of the RSS. What are the basic characteristics? We should understand this phenomenon, this organization, because the BJP is basically a tool of the RSS. That we should understand very clearly. the BJP cannot do anything without the RSS approving of it. You must be knowing this classic example. I'm just giving you one example so that you realize. You see, after 2004, when the Vajpayee government lost, everybody thought, even in 2009, who was the prime ministerial hopeful? Who was it? After Vajpayee? Advani ji, who has got a Bharat Ratna today, by the way. He was the next in line. But later on, what happened? If you remember, after 2009, he went to Pakistan. And he made some very good comments about Jinnah. Very good comments about Muhammad Ali Jinnah. I don't know why he made them. Maybe to try and appeal to the Muslims in India, etc., whatever, we don't know. But the RSS got hopping mad. They made their displeasure very clear. And they publicly censured him, Advani. Slowly, Advani was put on the backbench in the whole BJP power game. They tried to bring in this Nitin Gadkari. They did not succeed. Some corruption things came around him, etc. People say that all that was cooked up by Modi and Amit Shah. And eventually, it was the RSS that decided that in 2014, who will be the Prime Minister candidate? It was the RSS that decided on Narendra Modi. Very clear. So what the RSS decides, the BJP will do. Very clear. Let us be very clear about this. Uttar Pradesh. Election took place a few years ago. Who would be the Chief Minister? It was not the BJP that decided. It came from the RSS that Yogi Adityanath will be the CM. Understand? Because they come to that conclusion depending on who has been loyal to them, who has not been loyal to them. Very clear. Who will take forward their thing effectively, who will not be able to do it. So that is one thing. Therefore, 7 characteristics we have put over here. All of you can read. I'm just saying that once. Pro-communal, anti-secular, number 1. Number 2, pro-imperialist, anti-sovereignty. Number 3, pro-capitalist landlord, anti-working class, anti-peasantry. Number 4, pro-manusmruti, anti-shudra, anti-dalit, anti-women. Number 5, pro-fascist, anti-democratic. Number 6, pro-unitary, anti-federal. Number 7, pro-inequality, anti-communist. These are the 7 characteristics of the RSS which have been proved to be true n number of times. And here we have to understand how the RSS really came forward. Earlier the RSS was nothing. It was, as you know, it was started in 1925. For the first several years of independent India, the RSS, although it was working continuously, but politically hardly any influence. They had their party called the Bharatiya Janasangh at one time, before the BJP. Never made much of a mark. How did this whole communal thing come up in India? That is a very important question, which we have tried to answer here. How did it happen? For that we will spend a few minutes. The rest will come quickly. You see, what they say is, the RSS says that this communalism was always there in India ever since the Muslims and the Christians entered India. That is their narrative. Whenever Islam came, whenever Christianity came, after that, there have always been struggles between Hindus and them, and that is how communalism has come up. We have to try and understand whether that is right or whether that is wrong. Whether that contention is right or wrong. Very leading historians of India, leading historians, some of their names I think you are also familiar. Professor Ramila Thapar, Professor Irfan Habib, Professor R.S. Sharma, Professor Dharmanand Kosambi. You know, these are all very, very famous historians of India who are not only commended in India, but they are also having respect all over the world. Their contention is that communalism was not there in India until the British came here to power. That is their basic point. Yes, there were different religions, correct. Islam came, Christianity came, Hinduism was there from much earlier, etc., etc. Buddhism, that was at least 2,500 years old. Jainism, almost as old, isn't it? So, all these other religions were there, but communalism never reared its head until many years after the English came here and made us a slave nation. Now there are so many examples. Two examples I have quoted in this note. One example is of 1576, that very famous Battle of Haldi Ghati in 1576. Between whom was it fought? Akbar and Rana Pratap. Very famous Maharana Pratap and Akbar. Now there, all historians are united on this, that there were 60,000 Rajputs in Akbar's army. 60,000 Rajputs. Who was Maharana Pratap? He was a Rajput. So, if there had been communalism, all these 60,000 Rajput Hindus should have been on whose side? Maharana Pratap, very clear. They were not, they were on Akbar's side. 40,000 Muslim Pathans, they were in Maharana Pratap's army, along with Rajputs also. In Akbar's also, they were Muslims also. But they were these Hindus also. So, 40,000 and 60,000 being in the opposite camp, in the armies, fighting each other. Would that have been possible had there been communalism in India existing at that time? Impossible. Logically, it does not fit. So, this was the point. You know, and we know in that battle, Akbar won. Maharana Pratap lost. That is the verdict of history. For various reasons that we need not go into this. Second example we have given, Aurangzeb and Shivaji, which is often portrayed by the BJP RSS. Even this Akbar and Maharana Pratap battle, the RSS and BJP, what do they say? It's a communal battle. Muslim versus Hindu. Aurangzeb, Shivaji, they also say same thing. It is Hindu versus Muslim. The classic book that you should read, all of you. Many of you may have read it also. Comrade Govind Pansare's book, Who Was Shivaji? Small book, very interesting. Lakhs of copies have got sold in Maharashtra. And thousands of in English, and I think in your mother tongue also that book may have been translated. Very famous, Govind Pansare, who as you know was killed martyred by these communal elements. So he has given in that Aurangzeb and Shivaji that was not a communal battle at all. So many of Shivaji's generals, naval chiefs, those who rescued him from Agra, where he was imprisoned by Aurangzeb, all of them were Muslims. Now, had Shivaji been anti-Muslim, had he been communal, which Muslim would have gone to his own death to save Shivaji from Agra? They would not have done it, na? They said, to hell with him, yeah, let him die. Had he been communal, that is what they would have said. That did not happen. In Aurangzeb's court, many Hindus were there. So even up to that time, 1700s, all that was not there. Communalism was not there. These battles, yes, they were battles. But these battles were basically for a share of power. You understand? Battles between these kings and queens at that time, that who will get power over us, that was the main point. Nothing to do with religion. Later on, what happened? When the British came to India, 1757, Battle of Plassey, that is in Bengal now. When at that point of time, slowly, the British started gaining control over India. And when that control was there, there were many rebellions at that time. We are not going into that history and all that, we know. Adivasis rebelled, Santals rebelled, Fakirs and all these people also rebelled everywhere. Tremendous. Birsa Munda's name, Isn't it? So many martyrs, we know their names, who fought against the British. But which was the first war of Indian independence? When was that? 1857, very right. First war of Indian independence, which is called, against the British. And that was led by all the princes, that is the kings, queens, etc. But who actually fought? Soldiers. And who were the soldiers at that time? Very classically it has been described, soldiers means the army was nothing but farmers in uniform. Because 1857, there were no factories, there was no working class so much. So it was basically the peasantry who used to join the army, wear an army uniform, and therefore the army uniform, that means peasants in uniform, means they were soldiers. That is the point. That was not only in India, it was there all over the world. Even today it's a fact. Even today you see, in the Indian army, among those who actually fight, I'm not talking about the generals around, but among the infantry, among the cavalry, etc., those who actually fight, they come from which class? Farmers, agricultural workers. Isn't it? That's a fact even today in India. So that point we should understand. There the point is that all these, naturally, majority of the princes were religious wise, they were Hindu. They were Hindu because majority was Hindu population even then. But a very interesting thing happened in Indian history. And that interesting thing happened during this first war of Indian independence, and that was that all these, most of the Hindu princes, they selected the last Mughal Badshah, Bahadur Shah Zafar, to be the supreme leader of their revolt against the British. Very famous name, Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was a great poet also. And he was the last Mughal Badshah. Delhi he was ruling. He did not have much of an empire remaining. But at least Delhi, that is the capital, so he was ruling over there. All of them together. including queens like, you know her name very well, she became a martyr in this, Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, a Hindu queen. So many such Hindu people. They said, no, our leader is who? Bahadur Shah Zafar, a Muslim leader. They had no problem with that. Had there been communalism in India, even as late as 1857, would Bahadur Shah Zafar have been made the supreme commander of the first Indian War of Independence? Would that have happened? Never. But it happened. So till 1857 there was nothing, very clearly. Then of course, not only is a question of kings and queens coming together, Hindu and Muslim soldiers, they came together in the fighting against the British, both of them. Tremendous unity on the battlefield against the British. That was achieved as a result of this tremendous unity during the First War of Indian Independence. And lakhs were killed, you know. Both Hindus and Muslims, lakhs were killed by the British. That entire history of 1857, it is really worth reading. Worth reading. The way that they were absolutely, you know, so many of them actually, elephants were thrown onto them and they were actually crushed under elephants. Indians were put inside the cannons. You know, cannon, a cannon ball is thrown, na? So they used to put one of the soldiers, behind that was a cannon ball, and then they used to light the cannon. So that person finished, he would be just dead. And that ball and that man used to be thrown like this. This is what happened in the 1857 war. We should understand all this. Nowadays, many of us don't know what the British did. We have heard only about Jallianwala Bagh. But we have not heard about all these other atrocities that they did for years and years together. So therefore, that point should be understood. Now, at that point, when they realized that Hindus and Muslims have got together against us, they could not succeed. This revolt could not succeed for two reasons. What was those two reasons? One reason was that technologically, the British were much superior to the Indians in armaments. You understand? Cannons, etc. So it was a much more developed capitalist country by that time. Isn't it? England is the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. You know that. Isn't it? That time India was nothing. So naturally, technologically, they were much more better equipped in the armaments, etc. That is one reason why they won over us. But the second reason why they won over us was that even at that point of time, all the princes in India did not come together against the British. That's also a point of history which we should understand. There were many who were on the British side even at that time. They were not all against. So that was the other reason. And that was nothing to do with religion. There were Muslims on the British side, kings and queens. There were Hindu kings and queens also on the British side. Just as they were both Hindu and Muslim against the British also. That is the point. Therefore, anyway, from that experience, England just about managed, but they got the fright of their lives after that 1857. And then they decided that now we have to use more sophisticated techniques to keep India under our thumb. And which was the best technique that they found? That is what we all read in history books. Kya? Food डालो और राज करो. बिल्कुल correct. Divide and rule. Divide and rule. Perfect. And that is exactly what they did. And then we will come to how did they do it, you see. 1905, a very important date in Indian history. Lord Curzon, who was the viceroy at that time, what he did was, he enacted the partition of Bengal. You must have all heard of it. Bengal was partitioned, 1905. Into what? Hindu Bengal, Muslim Bengal. What is now Bangladesh, that they made into a Muslim Bengal. What is today West Bengal, they made it into a Hindu Bengal. So 1905 partition of Bengal started communalism. But you will be surprised to know, all this is there in our history records. Bengalis, both Hindu and Muslim, together they fought against the English, this thing, to partition Bengal. They fought for 6 years. Together, Hindus and Muslims, Bengalis. With the result, in 1911, after 6 years, the partition of Bengal had to be cancelled by the British. It was a huge victory. A huge victory. They had to cancel a administrative step that they had taken of partitioning Bengal. That had to be cancelled, 1911. But in the meanwhile, in 1906, an organization was formed that is called the Muslim League. Then again, within 9 years, another organization was formed in 1915, and the name of that organization was the Hindu Mahasabha. Again another 10 years, a third organization was formed in 1925, and that organization was called the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the RSS. So these were the three communal organizations. 1906 Muslim League, 1915 Hindu Mahasabha, 1925 RSS. And they started, all three, in their own way. At the time when the Indian National Congress, when the Communist Party of India, when so many other forces, including Bhagat Singh and all his warriors, a large number of forces were talking about the entire social reform movement. Mahatma Phule, Ambedkar, before that Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar, Narayan Guru. You see, this whole social reform movement in India, all these were trying for the unity of India. And at that time, it was these three communal organizations which were making every effort to divide India in every possible manner on the basis of religion. And to that extent, they were helping the British. It is not an accident. It is not an accident that among these three organizations, except for one figure who also joined it later on, there is no freedom fighter worth the name in any of these organizations. What is the definition of a freedom fighter? In India, the definition of a freedom fighter is anyone who during the British rule period has gone to jail for at least 6 months. Means he was imprisoned by the British during some agitation or the other for a total minimum 6 months. That he is a freedom fighter. You will see in the RSS there is no freedom fighter. Muslim League, no freedom fighter. Hindu Mahasabha, almost no freedom fighter, only one. His name, Savarkar, correct? Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. But in the beginning period of his life, yes, he fought against the British. That is true for a few years in the beginning. But after he was thrown into the Andaman jail, he changed. And he gave not one, not two, not three, 5 mercy petitions to the British. 5 mercy petitions. They are all there. All there in the records, archives. Saying that you release me. If you release me, I will do whatever you say, telling the British authorities. And he is saying, the British will gain more by releasing me than by keeping me in jail. For a few years he was still there. But he had got 2 terms of 50 years each. Means 100 years. He would have died in the Andaman only. But he was released in 1923. Within 12 years, he was released. He was arrested 1911. 1923, he was released with some conditions. And 1937, all the conditions were removed. And after he was left, 1923, just see the wonderful coincidence. 1923, Savarkar is left from the Andaman jail. He comes to Ratnagiri. He is under house arrest kind of thing, but he is there in his house. And he writes the book which is called Hindutva. Immediately after release from jail, he writes the book called Hindutva, which is one of the Bibles of the RSS today. I have written right in the beginning. There are 3 Bibles of the RSS, page number 1. Which are those 3? One is Hindutva, written in 23. Second is written in 1939 by Golwalkar, the second RSS chief, called We or Our Nationhood Defined. And the third was written later. It's a sort of a collection called Bunch of Thoughts by Golwalkar. So these are the 3 main ideological Bibles of the RSS and of all the Hindutva forces today. And then in 37, when he was totally, all conditions were removed from him, Savarkar becomes the president of the All India Hindu Mahasabha. And he makes a speech in the Ahmedabad conference saying that India was never one country. Savarkar makes that speech. That speech is available. India was never one country. India was always 2 countries. Which were them? One Hindu, the other Muslim. And that is how the 2-nation theory was first propounded by Savarkar. Immediately after 3 more years in 1940. Savarkar said that when? 1937. Within 3 years, Muhammad Ali Jinnah of the Muslim League takes that same idea forward. In a Muslim League conference, he says that India cannot be one nation. It is 2 nations, Hindu and Muslim. And Hindu and Muslim 2 nations cannot live together. And therefore, when freedom comes, India has to be divided into a Hindustan and a Pakistan. The first time the Pakistan demand is raised is by Muhammad Ali Jinnah in 1940 as a result of this 2-nation theory, but which was first propounded by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar 3 years earlier. That point should be noted. And therefore, this whole thing, and then of course you know, the partition, what happened, Lakhs of people died, both Hindus and Muslims. All that tragedy, I think all of you know. Bhisham Sahani's Tamas, you must have seen. Khushwant Singh's very terrible book actually. It's a Train to Pakistan. Some of you may have read. Really terrible. It is actually the truth that happened. So all this tremendous violence. Lakhs of people, they say between 10 and 15 lakh people were killed in Punjab and Bengal during the partition riots. 10 to 15 lakhs. Can you imagine this figure? Of all religions, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, whoever got caught, they were just killed, that's all. So this happened. And then of course, you know, in 1948, within 6 months of independence, 30th of January, the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, is killed, shot in Delhi by, you know, Nathuram Godse. Not only him alone, many of his accomplices are there. And one of them is also Savarkar. And all of these people were members of both these organizations. It is proved beyond doubt that Nathuram Godse and all the others, they were members of the RSS and also of the Hindu Mahasabha. And they were the ones who killed Mahatma Gandhi. As a result of all this, there was tremendous anger against the RSS at that time. And the RSS was banned. Who banned it? Who was the Home Minister of India? Vallabhbhai Patel. Prime Minister, of course, was Jawaharlal Nehru. Vallabhbhai Patel, he bans the RSS. Now today, Modi, to show, he has erected that statue of unity of Vallabhbhai Patel in Gujarat. That is typical what they do. Typical, exactly, you know, trying to appropriate people who are actually against you. Now imagine, you see that whole list of Bharat Ratnas. Revdi culture he talks about, no? Suna hai ki nahi, Revdi? Free buys. Now he is making Revdi of Bharat Ratna also. Height. Karpuri Thakur. First, Bihar Chief Minister, backward class, whom the RSS and BJP had targeted so severely when he was alive. Karpuri Thakur. Chaudhary Charan Singh. They had totally attacked him when he was there. Totally. Narasimha Rao, he was the Congress Prime Minister. He had defeated them and come to power. And the height is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, giving him Bharat Ratna, but not doing a damn thing to implement his most seminal recommendation, giving farmers MSP at 1.5 times the entire cost of production. You got the point, na? But trying to appropriate them. Arey, wo to hamara aadmi hai. M.S. Swaminathan. We gave him the Bharat Ratna. You are not implementing a damn thing which he said. Isn't it? Karpuri Thakur, you are against a caste census. And you are giving Bharat Ratna to Karpuri Thakur to hide it. Isn't it? You are selling the entire agriculture to corporates and you are giving Bharat Ratna to Charan Singh and Swaminathan, who are totally against giving agriculture to corporates. The only honest Bharat Ratna that they gave among these 5, the only honest one was of course L.K. Advani. It's the only honest thing that they did. You understand? This is the situation. So therefore, you must understand, this is the entire thing. For the first 30 years, they were actually having no presence in India because people were sick. How did they come into the mainstream? They came in the mainstream as a result of the emergency. Indira Gandhi's emergency in 1975 to 77, she arrested all the opposition leaders. Almost. Many from the RSS, Janasangh were arrested. Many from the CPIM were arrested. Many from the Congress, Socialists, etc., many were arrested. Only two parties at that time were supporting the Congress and the emergency. Only two political parties. Which were those? One was the Communist Party of India, CPI, not CPIM. CPIM, many were in jail. But the Communist Party of India, Dange's party. And the second, they had very good company. Bal Thackeray of the Shiv Sena. He was also supporting the emergency. So that way. But anyway, during the emergency also, the RSS chief, Balasaheb Devras, he was in jail. He was in jail. One of our comrades from Maharashtra, he became a party state secretariat member and all, Krishna Khopkar. He was with Devras in the same jail. You know, and he used to tell us all kinds of stories about Devras. You know, how he used to cry in jail and all such things and all. So all that. And Devras, he wrote a letter to Indira Gandhi from jail. Exact letter, somewhat like what Savarkar wrote to the British. He said, release RSS people. I am giving you an undertaking that if you release us, we will work most sincerely for the implementation of your 20-point program. You remember, no? 20-point program was their emergency. I'll do that. Unfortunately for him, Indira Gandhi did not agree. So he remained till the end. But anyway, they tried their best to see that they can get rid of it. That time was the time, then later on the Janata Party was formed, as you know. And then the Janata Party, after that, the Janasangh totally stopped, it dissolved itself in the Janata Party. They totally, wiped out their own existence. And then when 1977 Lok Sabha elections, Indira Gandhi was defeated. Congress was defeated. Janata Party came to power. Morarji Desai became the Prime Minister. And at that time, for the first time, two RSS Pracharaks became Central Union Ministers. And which were those two? Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Lal Krishna Advani. That is how they got a small slice of central power for the first time as a result of the emergency and the anti-emergency struggle. But even then they could not make too much headway. Later on, you know, in 1984, when Indira Gandhi was assassinated and Rajiv Gandhi was leading the thing, how many seats BJP got in parliament? 2 seats, 84. Then they raised, and that's why Advani has been given Bharat Ratna. They raised this Ram Mandir issue, BJP, RSS, through Advani. And Ayodhya Ram Mandir issue from 89. Then that Rath Yatra happened, you know. Wherever the Rath Yatra went, there were riots. Hundreds of people were killed. They were not bothered. They wanted that. Because without that communal polarization, they could not see that the BJP grew. And that's how, finally, they could get some reasonably substantial number of seats in parliament, in many of the assemblies. That is that whole Ram Mandir movement that really got them. First, the anti-emergency thing, they first got somewhere. But the Ram movement, Ram temple movement, actually got them into the thick of the Indian politics. And then later on all that happened is there. It's all there in the note. So I'm not going into all that in detail. You can go through it so that how right up to yesterday, in fact yesterday I, this thing for your class, I just updated that note to include even all the latest points right till yesterday, day before. So therefore just go through that. You will understand how exactly communalism grew at the expense of secularism, what all they tried, how exactly they did, etc. One very important point that's come later on. They were supported by the entire corporate lobby. This point will come later. But here also it should be flagged. Unless they had this tremendous money of this Ambani, Adani and all these other Tata, Birla, everybody, they could not have reached where they have reached. And large sections of the Indian corporates, they are backing the RSS, backing the BJP. And that is the reason why they are able to make such a big headway. That also should be just kept in mind. Now, regarding the other issues, we'll come very briefly only. You see, we'll finish in about 15-20 minutes and then we can have a discussion. You see, pro-imperialist anti-sovereignty already covered, point number 2. They were never part of the freedom struggle. That point we have made, isn't it? Except for Savarkar, who also gave apologies, etc. Otherwise, none of these people were part of the freedom struggle. And therefore, that remains even now. It's not that we are talking about long back, 70, 80 years ago. You see Mr. Narendra Modi's policies at every point of time. Last 10 years. Who is his biggest friend? Internationally. Internationally, who is it? The US president. Exactly. Donald Trump, you're right. Namaste Trump he organized. No, right at the corona was starting. Right when corona, already in the world it had started. India also it had started. He delayed the lockdown, Modi, simply because he wanted that Namaste Trump rally in Ahmedabad where he gathered 5 lakh people. And many Americans came. America was full of corona at that time. Thousands of Americans came and gave corona to Indians in that rally. That's a fact. So, Namaste Trump, you know. Now he is sucking up to Biden, whoever it is. And he must be hoping against hope that Trump should come again as president. That is quite likely. We don't know what will happen. So all this, because Trump is basically a right-wing chap like him. And all other pro-imperialist people, leaders, he is very much for. See Israel. Now this whole Palestine-Israel thing is going on. First time a prime minister, immediately no prime minister of India has ever done it. Few years ago he went to Israel, first time. No PM of India has visited Israel up to now. And now when this conflict is on, you know more than 25,000-30,000 Palestinians have been killed in cold blood. Out of them, more than 17,000-18,000 are women and children. They are being killed by that Netanyahu, who is the Prime Minister of Israel. And Modi is very close to Netanyahu, everybody knows. He was very close to that Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil. He had called him for the 26th January rally. Republic Day rally, can you imagine? So all this thing you should understand, pro-imperialist thing and all the agreements, etc., security agreements, economic agreements, all the others, they are all favoring imperialism. That's what the Narendra Modi government, even the Vajpayee government earlier, that had also done the same thing. Third point, pro-capitalist landlord, anti-working class, anti-peasantry. Now this is directly related to the bank employees also, because you are part of the working class. And the topic is there, what is the result on the working class of this communalism? That's a part of the topic. In the note we have given, what is the result on the working class? The entire Modi regime is, as I said, pro-corporate, anti-worker, anti-peasant. The kind of privatization that has been done in the last 10 years, earlier governments also did. We are not saying that they did not do. Congress government started it, in fact, from 1991, what is called these neoliberal policies. It was the Congress government of Narasimha Rao which started it. But the BJP government is taking it much ahead, much faster. And the whole privatization drive of banks, you know, much better than me, because you are working in banks, so you know the challenges. Banks are being cut down. So many of them are also this whole amalgamation of banks, as a result of which tremendous unemployment, retrenchment, all this is going on. New recruitment has been very much cut down. This is the entire, not only bank, LIC, that is the insurance sector. All the working class sectors you see, government employees you see, BSNL, classic example, you all know, BSNL, totally being finished only to help Jio of the Reliance Group, Mukesh Ambani Group. All this we know. All this during these last 10 years it has happened. I have a BSNL phone, some of you may be also having. It hardly works. And when you go to the BSNL office, there is hardly anybody there. It's not their fault. The government wants to finish off BSNL so that all the private Jio and all the other things can go ahead. In Hindi, there is a saying. In English, how they say it, that if a fence is erected to save a field, isn't it? But there is a saying, if the fence only starts eating the field, who will save that field? Have you heard that? It must be there in all your languages also, isn't it? Huh? So that's what's happening. The government is only eating up the public sector, destroying it. So all this is going on. All those several examples I've given in the note. I'm not going into details. Anti-peasantry, you know, these whole farm laws, etc. Isn't it? Whole land acquisition, all those points, all that is in the note. I'm not going into details. Number 4, pro-Manusmriti, anti-Shudra, anti-Dalit, anti-women. This requires 1 or 2 minutes of explanation, because I'm not sure how many of you have actually read the Manusmriti. Has anybody read it? Has anybody read? But I think you know generally what it is about. You know generally what the Manusmriti is. The Manusmriti is a 2000-year-old text. Minimum 2000 years. Written by some Brahmin called Manu. His name is only Manu. Now, this Manusmriti has actually a number of shlokas, or what you say that, you know, stanzas and all that. The main point of it is this, of Manusmriti, is that only the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas are human beings. And maybe some of the Vaishyas. All the others, that is Shudra. And who is Shudra? Shudras are all those who are doing physical labor in order to survive. That is the meaning of Shudra. Many times, this very big, wrong impression is there among us that Shudras means Dalits. Am I right? Am I right? हाँ, ये है ना impression. एकदम गलत है. It's a totally wrong impression. Dalit is not Shudra. Shudra is whom? All the farmer castes. That means today what you call the OBCs. Even many of the forward castes who are doing agriculture at that time, 2000 years ago, they also form part of the Shudras. Those who are artisans, you remember artisan? Potter, kumbhar bolte, hai na? Then you call sutar, carpenter. All these, what are those, those artisans classes? They all come in the Shudras. So this Shudra is a huge thing. Those who are doing physical labor in order to survive, either in the cities or in the rural areas. Cities were not there much at that time. It was basically agriculture and some artisan, etc. That whole thing comes under Shudras. And the Dalits come under a category which is called, it was called later on by Mahatma Phule, it was called Ati Shudra. Ati means even more. Ati, na? Means super Shudra you can call. They did not form part of the Chatur Varna. Chatur Varna is the 4 Varna system. You heard of that? Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Got it, na? And who formed this system? Very interesting. No, not Manu. Before Manu also. The Rigveda. In Rigveda, called Purush Sukta, there is one shlok. Shlok means one poem. Somebody had put it. Who knows all these? At that time, all these Brahmins only used to write. You must have surely heard this. That Brahmins came from the mouth of God. Have you heard this or not? Kshatriyas came from his arms, from God's arms. Vaishyas came from his thighs. And Shudras came from his feet. From God's feet, the Shudras came. These are the 4 Varnas. This actually has started with the Rigveda, which is a very venerated text of the Hindus many years ago, even before Manusmriti that was there. And that is how this Varna system started, 4 Varna, and then it degenerated into the caste system. These 4 Varnas, in those Varnas again, there was subdivision between caste. It was, as it is said, basically a division of labor. Division of labor, basically. That used to happen even in Europe. Some were carpenters, some were clerks, some were farmers, some were somebody else. But what Dr. Ambedkar said very correctly, the caste system, he said, it is not just a division of labor. He said, it is a division of laborers also. Why? Why did he say that? You see, in England, America, Japan, Germany, France, a carpenter's son or a daughter, it was nowhere written that he should be a carpenter only. He could become a doctor also later on. You understand? A mason. Mason is who deals with stone, His son or daughter could become anything. But here what they did was, they actually said that caste, once you become, your progeny will have to do that work only. You got the point, the difference between the caste system and the other. Division of labor was there everywhere. You understand? But there was no compulsion, hereditary, that your son or daughter must do the same business. That was nothing there. If you are good, you can become something else. Here it was not like this. For thousands of years, whatever your caste, you have to be, that is endogamous. You understand? And therefore, for years and years, this system continued, the caste system. And therefore, very clearly, no question of marriage outside the caste. How did that matter came up? Because of all this. Because if you marry outside the caste, then you are becoming impure. Isn't it? Today these honor killings, why do they take place? They take place all over the country. Earlier they used to take place only in Haryana, we used to hear. But today, you tell me, in your state, have honor killings taken place or not? They come, no, in the newspapers. Just because the boy or the girl, one of them is of a higher caste, the other is of a lower caste. The higher caste people get hopping mad. They go to the extent of killing their son or daughter also. So this is the very, very terrible caste system, this whole Manusmriti, Varna Vyavastha, Jati Vyavastha, all that. Hence Ambedkar also said that caste is enclosed class. Caste is enclosed class. So that is why. So this whole Manusmriti thing, and therefore Manusmriti says that Shudra, women of all castes and Varna, no question, women are all secondary citizens. Shudras are not human beings. Women are not human beings. और दलितों का तो पूछो ही मत. They are to absolutely outside the Varna system itself. They are much lower. They are all supposed to do all the dirty work. So this whole thing, and you will not believe, I have written in that note what Savarkar and Golwalkar say about the Manusmriti. They are praising the Manusmriti. I have given all those passages. This is the original RSS. Whatever they may talk about social engineering and all that, but basically they believe that yes, the Varna system must prevail, caste system must prevail. That is why they are opposing a caste census today. That's the point. So therefore, please understand that. Number 5, pro-fascist, anti-democratic. The RSS philosophy is no different in its essence from the philosophy of Hitler and Mussolini. And this is shown by the fact I have given in the note. In 1931, a leader of the RSS, 31 is very early days, 1925 the RSS was formed. Within 6 years, one B.S. Munje, one of the founders of the RSS and one of the big leaders of the Hindu Mahasabha. For the earlier period, both were sort of synonymous, equal. I mean, they were going together. One could be here, one could be there, etc. B.S. Munje went to Italy and he met Benito Mussolini. And he has written about what Mussolini, then he went to all the fascist things, camps and all that, the schools and all these things. And he has written such glorious things. He said, this Italy, Germany, this is fantastic. And then Golwalkar has written, when the Second World War was in progress, we or our nationhood defined, 1939, when Hitler had already attacked several countries. At that time, RSS chief Golwalkar, that also I have quoted, he is saying that Hitler has shown how well nigh impossible it is to assimilate differences going right to the roots. And he has done a very good job. What is a good job? Killing 60 lakh Jews in Germany is a good job, according to Golwalkar. You know, 60 lakh Jews were killed. And there is that very famous poem in Hitler's time. Today, when talking about the Modi regime also, you just consider that poem, whether it is going correctly or not. That was written. It was written by a Christian pastor. His name is Pastor Niemöller, very famous one. That poem goes like this, that he's talking about the Nazi people in Germany, you know, Nazi hordes. And he says, first they came for the communists. But I was not a communist. So I kept quiet. Then he writes, then they came for the socialists. But I was not a socialist. So I did not say anything. Then they came for the trade union leaders. That means bank, LIC, etc. All these trade union leaders, working class, etc. But I was not a trade union leader. So I kept quiet. Then they came for the Jews. But I was not a Jew. So I kept quiet. And then finally, they came for me. And at that time, there was nobody left to save me. Beautiful poem. You know, very touching poem. That, you know, when you start thinking, कि ये तो दूसरे के लिए चल रहा है ना, हमारा क्या है उसमें? But then when it really comes on you, there will be nobody left. And that is what fascism does. That is what fascism does. And that's why both of them, Savarkar, Golwalkar, everybody, they have praised fascism. They have said what Hitler is doing is a great lesson for us to learn in Hindustan. That is what he has written. And now also, all these fascist gangs which are there, you see what are all these lynching and all? What's going on? Yesterday, you will not believe, I don't know whether you know, I don't know whether it's come in the papers here or not. In Maharashtra, there is one very, very, journalist, fearless fellow, Nikhil Wagde. Some of you may have heard of him. He has been fighting against the Shiv Sena right from Bal Thackeray days. They used to target him. Many times they used to hate him and all that. But he remained. Now he is attacking, totally he is dead against RSS, BJP. Yesterday, they had a public meeting in Pune. And then, after the public meeting, BJP RSS fellows, they attacked his car. They were going to actually kill him. And along with him, 2 or 3 other, they have called this thing called Nirbhay Bano Andolan. Nirbhay Bano means be fearless. It is getting fantastic response among public meetings in Maharashtra. Thousands and thousands are coming to listen to them. They are very close to us also. Because we have been supporting them all along. So therefore, like this, yesterday they were attacked by the BJP hoodlums in Pune. Big issue has now come. So like this, you see, everywhere. Here now, for example, there is one portal here, you know, some of you may know, called NewsClick. You see, when this whole Godi media is going totally finished, do they give anything about your Bank Employees Federation of India? Do the normal papers and media, do they give? They don't give a damn. But they are so, this thing with Modi enamored and all the advertisements and the money and all these things. So this whole Godi media is totally sold out. Why Godi media? Just for your information, the Supreme Court is also sold out. Yeah, really. You see some of their judgments. You see their judgment on 370 abrogation and the statehood for Jammu and Kashmir. And who was the main judge in that? The Chief Justice himself, Chandrachud. Within a few days, another judgment came regarding Adani. I don't know whether you have followed or not. Surely I'm sure you're bankers, so you have followed it. Regarding Adani and that Hindenburg thing. They gave Adani a clean chit against Chandrachud and that 2 or 3 judges. Terrible. The only good judgment they gave, I have written over here, after that, was that Bilkis Banu judgment. I have mentioned that case also over here. Terrible case. So all these things are happening. That much you must understand. So therefore, all this pro-fascist and anti-democratic, this is the entire situation that is going on. That you must understand. And therefore, and they are so scared, I'll tell you. We'll come to that in the end. But they believe in fascism. Let us have no doubt about it. They are only waiting so that they get a 2/3 majority in the Lok Sabha, Parliament, Rajya Sabha, etc. And then they will 100% go after the constitution. That is the point. So we should understand. We have to be very, very clear, tough regarding this. And you have seen all those things I have mentioned in the note. Nitish Kumar, what they did? Bihar. When he came last time and joined Lalu, he said, मैं मरूंगा लेकिन बीजेपी की तरफ कभी नहीं जाऊंगा. Means what in English? I will die, but I will never go back to BJP. This Nitish Kumar said it. How many? 15 months ago. So he has not died, but he has gone back to BJP. Isn't it? And the BJP had said that now, that same time, when he had said, no, I will die but not go back, BJP replied by saying, they said that under no conditions will the doors ever open for Nitish Kumar again. BJP had said, Amit Shah had said. Nitish Kumar is gone. Now doors were never open for him. Kya chamatkar hua? How the doors opened? Suddenly. Miracle, no? Huh? So, all this, therefore, you must understand, all these things are being done. Many other things are there in the note you can go through. Number 6, pro-unitary, anti-federal. They actually don't want the various state governments at all. Their basic idea is they want a unitary India. And like Hitler, what is their slogan? One ideology, one flag, one leader. One ideology, one flag, one leader. One ideology is Hindutva. One flag is what? Saffron. And one leader is who? Modi. How many of you know the other ministers in the Modi cabinet? One or two you must be knowing now. Nirmala Sitharaman, there is no choice because she places the budget. Amit Shah, of course, we know. Because he is the real Rakshas in there. But otherwise, who else do we know in the cabinet? All faceless, no? And whose photo comes in all the advertisements? Modi. So such a thing, you see, it never happened earlier like this. Never. That is the kind. And this is pro-unitary, anti-federal. They want to do away with the states. They are actually starving the states of funds, especially opposition states. They want to just finish them off. They are putting governors in all the opposition states just to create destabilization in those governments. Classic example of both these is what? Kerala. You saw day before yesterday, unprecedented. Never it has happened. The entire Kerala cabinet and all the left MLAs, they came here to Delhi in Jantar Mantar and led a huge dharna over here in Delhi. For what? That we don't want to be discriminated against. You give us our dues, GST dues, our whatever other central government schemes dues, Everything is being stopped. So the chief minister and all the ministers came here to Delhi. Never it has happened. Got very good publicity. The Delhi chief minister came to support Arvind Kejriwal. He is also facing the same thing. Punjab chief minister came. Jammu Kashmir former chief minister came. So all this. And the governor, what he is doing, Arif Muhammad Khan, you know that. Not only there, everywhere in Maharashtra he did that Bhagat Singh Koshyari. Unfortunately his name is Bhagat Singh. So such kind of people, you see, that is what is happening. In Tamil Nadu also the same thing. Isn't it? So all these things you should understand, they are against states. And especially if they are opposition ruled states, they want to finish them off. Seventh and the last thing is pro-inequality, anti-communist. That is the RSS, very important thing. You see, you must have read Oxfam report on inequality. It's a very famous organization, Oxfam, international organization. They do all the countries. In 2023, they brought out a report which said, all of you must have read it, came in all the news channels, it came on the press, everywhere. They said in India, that report is also titled, very interesting report, The Survival of the Richest. That is the title of the report. Oxfam India Inequality Report. If you can get a copy, 100% you read it. By Charles Darwin. And Charles Darwin, that thing, you know, remember, na? That all of us were monkeys at one time. Then human beings became. You understand? That is the whole thing. Before that, there was much else. Millions of years it took. So, survival of the fittest, that is the evolution theory. Now, this Oxfam has written regarding India, survival of the richest. And they have said that 1% of richest Indians own 40% of the country's wealth. 10% richest Indians own 72% of the country's wealth. And the most shocking, the bottom 50% of India's people, that is 70 crore out of 140 crores, they own only 3% of the country's wealth. 3%. 50% own 3%. 1% top own 40%. 10% top own 72%. And they have said it has been going on, growing tremendously in the last few years. What have they done to stop it? Nothing. On the contrary, they have done everything to distinguish it on. Gautam Adani, classic example. When Mr. Narendra Modi came to power, his rank in the world's richest people, Adani's rank, was number 609. What was it? 609. Among the world's richest people, Gautam Adani, 2014. And now what it became, December 2022? It became number 2 in the world. No American billionaire has managed such a miracle in 10 years. No English, no Japanese, no German. Indian has become number 2. But then that Hindenburg report came, you know, all of you. And then they showed how exactly he has managed all this. Hera Fairy and everything. And because of that, that whole bubble burst. And then again he went down to some 200, 300. But without Modi and his support, would that have been possible? Impossible. This is the situation. So inequality, that is exactly what they want to do. They want to create more inequality. And therefore they are against communists. Because communists want equality for all. Therefore all this they realize. And they also know another thing, that if anybody can counter fascism, really, if anybody can counter fascism and defeat it, what does world history show? Who finally defeated Hitler? Who defeated? Red Army, exactly. Red Army, the Soviet Union. Socialism. In the Second World War, out of 5 crore people who were killed, 5 crore, 2 crore were killed only from the Soviet Union. Largest number killed was from the Soviet Union, a socialist country. And it was, they had captured nearly 1/3 of the Soviet Union, Germany, in the first 6 months. Whole of Western Europe they had conquered, including France and everything. And then they fought back. And after 4 years, the Red Army, it entered Germany, it entered Berlin, which was Hitler's capital. And then Hitler was forced to commit suicide by shooting himself in his bunker when he realized that now the Soviet army is come into Berlin, so now there is no chance, I have to kill myself. The American and English army was still very far away on the west. They were nowhere near Berlin at that time. The other person, Mussolini. This happened on the 30th of April 1945, Hitler's suicide. Mussolini was running away. He was also defeated. His government was thrown out. He was running away to Switzerland. Italian communists caught him, recognized him. He was in a disguise. Recognized him. And it was an Italian Communist Party member called Walter Odisio. You can see Google also. It was he who killed Mussolini. Because Mussolini had killed thousands and thousands of people in Italy. So both these people, leaders of fascism, who were they destroyed by? By the communists. Nitish Kumar types can't do it. Got it, na? Ajit Pawar types can't do it. Eknath Shinde types can't do it. Therefore, they are extremely scared of the left. Because they know that the left is ideologically dead against and the left will not do here and there. They will remain. That is the point. So therefore, this anti-communist thing is there. Because of that, whole history is there. They also know history, just as we know, they also know it. So therefore, that is the point. Last we are coming to, on page 16, number 4, 7 poisonous methods of the RSS. So there we have given, which are their 7 methods. Clearly written, you can easily go through it. I am not going into all the details and all that. But for example, abuse, distortion, falsification of history on rabidly communal lines. Number 2, attack on science, reason, rationality and spread of obscurantism, superstition. Number 3, campaign of falsehoods, hate, terror and violence against minorities and Dalits. Number 4, social engineering techniques to win over backward castes, Dalits, Adivasis, etc. Number 5, massive use of sections of kept mainstream media and a social media blitzkrieg. Number 6, linking up to crony corporates to ensure unlimited supply of money for its work. And number 7, organization, systematic countrywide expansion, etc., etc. And then all those, their organizations are written. Some of their RSS, Hydra-headed organizations, all their names are given. These are the 7 methods that they use to be able to grow. And then we come to the end, page 17, combating communalism. Because that's also very important. Otherwise, what is the point of this class? If we don't talk about combating communalism, how do you combat them? You know, no, Karl Marx said, very young he was, at that time he had said, philosophers have interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. That was what Karl Marx had said when he was very young. So we have not gathered here only to interpret the RSS or only to interpret the country's situation under the RSS BJP regime. That we need to do. We need to understand, no doubt. But we are not doing it only to understand. We are doing it to want to change it, as Marx said. And that is important. That's why we have written the last two things. We have given two sections, ways to fight communalism. And there we have given 7 ways. I'm not going into them. You go through each one of them. Each one has got a lot of meaning. How exactly we are going to combat? What are the ideological methods we are going to use? Isn't it? What are the practical things that we are going to do? All these things we have to do together as an integrated whole. That's very important. And then in the last we have written our tasks in the present situation. That is including our bank employees, all the other middle class employees, workers, farmers, everybody, depending on whatever their occupation is. But all these things are actually applicable to all of us. So therefore, please go through those last 2 pages very carefully. Combating communalism. One is ways to fight communalism, and then our tasks in the present situation. That together we have put over here. I'm sure after going through this note today evening, afterwards, you will be much better equipped to be able to actually go right out into the world with confidence and be able to fight out this huge menace before India, which has to be stopped before it is too late. Otherwise, India should not go the way of Germany and Italy. That is real danger. For that reason, all of us have to do. One more thing in this is that the political angle in this, what we are trying to do is that after all, if this force is to be defeated, a wide unity of all forces who are against this fascism, against this communalism, against BJP RSS, that has to be forged. That unity is very important. You understand? And then now you will understand the meaning of this India bloc of various opposition parties that has been formed. You understand? So certainly that will help a lot, no doubt. Although some Nitish Kumar types, etc. may betray, but that doesn't matter. Otherwise, the rest of the thing will remain. So therefore, that is also an important point in which if this thing has to be defeated, then politically also all the others have to come together. And in this, there is no better example than the anti-Hitler fight. Who are the 3 countries who were leading the anti-fascist struggle, Second World War? One was Soviet Union, fighting against them. On that side was Germany, Italy, Japan. These were the 3 countries, fascist countries. Who was leading the battle against them? Which were the 3 countries who were there in that united front? Soviet Union, of course, with the maximum contribution. Number 2, America. United States was also there against Hitler. And third was United Kingdom, England. You remember Winston Churchill? He was Prime Minister of England at that time. Very brave regarding Hitler, but very reactionary regarding India. He never wanted to give us independence. Good, he lost in 1945. So then that Clement Attlee of the Labour Party came, and then independence became easier. Of course, we would have got it anyway. But all this. Now, these 3 coming together is also a very funny thing, no, in a way. Soviet Union, totally socialist. America and England, totally capitalist. Imperialist, in fact. Isn't it? But they all came together. Why? Because the main danger was Hitler, Mussolini and Tojo of Japan. You got the point? So therefore, for that reason, if BJP RSS is the main danger, all other forces need to come together to be able to fight it and defeat it. That is one important thing. But apart from that, all the other tasks also have to be done. It's not merely an electoral battle. It is an ideological battle. It is a very, very big battle which we have to fight and we have to win. Thank you very much.
Yes, comrades. We started the class at 5:35, I think. Now it is 7:25. Around 110 minutes. There is nothing much to say about this class now, because the grave danger of the communalism has been clearly presented in the 20-page report which has been supplied to you. And while concluding the class, he stressed the need of the unity. For what? Not only for winning the election, but to defeat these communal forces, to free this country from this grave situation. I am quite sure that there will be no doubt, no clarification is needed for this paper presented, but some doubts will be there. It will be there. So I request our comrades, kindly give that in writing as soon as you can. Within 5 minutes you can do that thing. Everybody who is listening to the class, I request you to give your views, any clarification is needed. Please give that in writing within 5 minutes.
So now there are 3-4 questions, good questions have come. One is, of course, how can we counter the activities of Vidya Bharati? We have witnessed that the schools run by Vidya Bharati have become the breeding center for RSS. Very correct. Definitely Vidya Bharati schools, it's called different names in different states. But the point is right. They are using all these schools to create a whole new generation of people whom they are trying to ideologically build into this whole RSS ideology, Hindutva ideology, communal things, etc. So for such a situation, what we have to try and do is that has to be countered by increasing our influence in all the other schools. That is very important. Now, in Vidya Bharati school, it may be difficult for you to go there because they will not allow you. That's what our general experience is. In RSS-led schools, for example, if you try to go inside and try to sort of, if you try to sort of go there, they will not allow you, simple as that. So what you have to do is that in the entire other society, not all schools are Vidya Bharati. There are many other schools of different types, etc. So there we have to build. And what we have to do is you see, progressive student organizations, building them is very important. Very important. In fact, in many of these RSS people, you see, they have that Shishu Vihar also. They start right from young. Catch them young is the slogan. So we also have, progressive sections are also working among children also. You understand? Among students, definitely. So all those sections we have to get very, very much. And regarding Vidya Bharati itself, if any problems are there in those schools, they have to be exposed. Those things have to be exposed clearly because those schools are not run in an ideal way. Lot of problems are there in those schools also. So those have to be clearly said and exposed very clearly. There, if some students we can manage to get who are willing to fight, etc., because all of them are not totally indoctrinated. We should not think that everybody going there is going to come with the same thought. It doesn't happen like that. Doesn't happen like that practically. So we have to try to see that they can be approached outside in their areas. The students who are going there, they can be approached in their areas. That is one way in which we can do. Then there is another thing, a differentiation between nationalism and patriotism. Now this is a very good question. See, patriotism is actually a very positive thing. Patriotism means that what is really good for the entire country. You understand? Patriot means what you say, what is really good for the country is patriotism. That is, now from that angle, if you see as patriotism, was the RSS patriotic in the freedom struggle? Was the Muslim League patriotic in the freedom struggle? Was the Hindu Mahasabha? Not at all. They in fact remained away from the most glorious and the biggest struggle that India has ever fought. Because that struggle was for 190 years. I told you, no? Plassey, Battle of Plassey, 1757 to 1947. 190 years is not a small thing. They were nowhere in it. So they were not at all patriotic. Nationalism is a much narrower word. Very narrow word. And nationalism has that kind of a thing. Although it can be used, freely it is used in a good sense also sometimes. But strictly speaking, nationalism means that only you put your country first against the interests of all other countries. That also has that kind of a meaning. That a very narrow sense of what is good. Patriotism doesn't have that. Patriotism means that what is good for your country, but which is not in conflict with what is good for other countries. You got the point? Like now, for example, freedom struggle. You can say that it was not good for England. That's all right, but because England was exploiting India. Got it, na? It was exploiting India. We are fighting for Indian independence because we are fighting against exploitation. Against our people being finished. So that was patriotism. Nationalism has a much narrower connotation, and that's exactly what the RSS is today doing. It is called nationalist jingoism. And classic example is what? Last election, you'll remember, Pulwama and Balakot. Remember? Pulwama and Balakot. Typical. That is that nationalism, on a bad kind of a note. There, we are showing, now we are doing this, Balakot, etc. See, have you heard that Satyapal Malik any time? Who was the governor of Jammu and Kashmir. He is a BJP fellow. He was governor of Jammu and Kashmir. And what he has been saying all this time? He is saying when that Pulwama happened, he was the governor of J&K. And he told the government, he told Modi, he told Amit Shah, he told the defense minister, he said, see, the situation is not good. Don't send these soldiers by road. Indian soldiers, don't send them by road up to Srinagar. Airlift them. Send them by flight. Some money would have gone. But is money an issue when you come to talking about your defense and talking about your soldiers, your security? And he said, I've gone on record. He has got letters and all that. He said they did not listen. They deliberately sent it by road. His idea, what he's trying to say is that this whole Pulwama incident was stage managed. So that it could create a kind of a jingoistic nationalism. That's what nationalism. That see, Pakistan is attacked. And then that Balakot airstrike. Balakot airstrike, all neutral observers, anybody who has really gone into details, Indian, foreign, everybody, they have said that not even a crow was killed. Not even a crow was killed by all our airstrikes on Balakot. Leave aside Pakistani soldiers. There was no camp at all. Exactly. So this kind of a thing. So this is that nationalism, typical, you see, and that was used by just to win the election. Got it, na? Vajpayee also did it, that Kargil conflict. You remember that time, 99. So this is that typical nationalism, which is of a very narrow variety. If you read Rabindranath Tagore, the greatest literary figures of India, Nobel Prize winner and all that, he has attacked nationalism left and right. You read Rabindranath Tagore's writings. He has said, see, this narrow nationalism I will never stand for. I will never stand for it. Rabindranath Tagore, such a great man. You see, he was not a less of a patriot. He was very much of a patriot. You know this, that he gave up his knighthood. You remember, no? After Jallianwala Bagh, his sir, no, he was called Sir Rabindranath Tagore. He gave it up, knighthood, in protest against the British killing hundreds of Indians in Jallianwala Bagh. So he was a patriot, but he was not a narrow nationalist. You understand? He has written very bitterly against narrow nationalism, Rabindranath Tagore. And that's how our thing should be. That's what we should understand. Then, in the whole topic, independence movement was discussed, but Gandhi and his ideology was not touched, which was relevant in this topic. Yes, you see, no, I mentioned Gandhi very clearly, saying that Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by the communal forces. The topic was not about independence movement. Topic was communalism, no? Isn't it? Had it been about the freedom struggle, definitely, and Mahatma Gandhi had a very major role. Now that you are asking the question, certainly I will tell. Certainly I will tell. Mahatma Gandhi had a very, very major role to play in the freedom struggle. There is no doubt about it. I have written in this note that there were 4 major strands of the freedom struggle. You see on one page, I don't remember the page, but you see 4 major strands. One was armed revolutionaries. First was that. You know, this whole Santhal rebellion, Sannyasi, Fakir rebellion, right from 1776 onwards. People took arms and fought the British without caring about the consequences. Birsa Munda, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad, Ashfaqullah Khan, ekdam last, whole 1857, Rani Lakshmi Bai, all of them, isn't it? And then the final thing was, of course, the naval mutiny in 1946. They also took up arms against the British, isn't it? So that is a running thread in the freedom struggle. That should not be undermined. Second thread was what? Very important. The whole social reform movement, I touched on it when talking about Manusmriti and all, isn't it? And I gave some names: Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar, Narayan Guru, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, Savitribai Phule, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. These are all the great social reformers of India. There were others also. Kabir, for example, a very, very progressive. Kabir, you know, na, the great poet Kabir from UP. So all these are very great. Ravidas, Sant Ravidas and all. So many are there. Every state there are very good people. That was a very important strand which said that yes, we must get freedom. British must go. But along with the British, this Manusmriti and the caste system, Varna system, subjugation of women, all this must also go. You got the point? What was the main point? That yes, British should be thrown out. But we don't want to throw out the British so that again this whole caste system, etc. comes back. That's not our aim. So that whole stand was very important in the freedom struggle. That was the second. Third was, of course, the Indian National Congress. In the beginning, you know, the Congress was founded by whom? A British, Alan Octavian Hume, a Britisher formed. Why did he form it? All our sisters know here, you use pressure cookers, no? For cooking. Pressure cookers are used, isn't it? Men also may be using, isn't it? What happens? Steam gathers. And then there is a whistle. Understand? That whistle, when too much steam comes, then that whistle comes from that pressure cooker. So steam goes out. Then again it remains. Then again after some time steam goes out. Alan Octavian Hume started the Congress as a kind of a pressure cooker. You understand? If Indians, they are having some complaints, etc., they should place those complaints, etc., so they should have an organization. That's why the Indian National Congress was formed. That is history. You see, the Congress first few conferences began by saluting the Queen of England. These are historical things. They began by saluting the Queen of England. No, this thing was there regarding fighting against the British. Nothing was there in the beginning. All the earlier things were all, arj binti. That means only this thing, request, you give us this, give us that. One request was what? IAS exam used to be ICS that time, Indian Civil Service. It used to be held in Britain. So one demand of the Congress was what? Hold ICS exam in India. Started with that. Now, that was all the educated sections. You see, how does it affect the poor? You understand? So all that thing happened. But anyway, later on Congress became radicalized. It became radicalized. Started going to the masses, getting the thing, because there was more and more of despair among the people, etc. And then Mahatma Gandhi, of course, took charge of the Congress in 1920. He had a very illustrious career in South Africa. This whole satyagraha, etc., non-violence, all that he used over there. You know all that history of Mahatma Gandhi, his whole struggles in South Africa. Very good, no doubt about it. Here he came in 1920, etc. And then, you see, I'm not going into the details of that because there's no time. But remember, 2 or 3 contributions of Mahatma Gandhi have to be accepted without any reservation. Number 1, through his satyagraha technique, non-violence, etc., he managed to get crores of Indians on the roads against British imperialism. There is no doubt about that. And that has to be accepted. His anti-imperialist credentials. There is no doubt. Nobody else has been able to, in the whole of Indian history, in this against the British, 190 years, nobody could manage to get so many people on the streets against the British as Mahatma Gandhi was able to do. So that we have to definitely accept, no doubt about it. He made the freedom struggle into a mass movement. Certainly it became a mass movement. There is no question of denying it. Second point, very important point. Mahatma Gandhi was clearly used to say, I am a Hindu. He never said, I am not a Hindu. I am a Hindu, he said. In fact, he also supported Varnashram Dharma. What is Varnashram Dharma? 4 Varna. That he supported. He used to say earlier that yes, it's a division of labor, it should be there. 4 varnas must be there. All that. But although he was a Hindu, he never in his entire life harbored any hatred of any other religious people. And his entire strategy against the British was all religions, all castes, all communities must come together in a united whole. Only then the British can be thrown out. That was the clear strategy of Mahatma Gandhi. He believed in it. It was not just a tactic or a strategy. He really believed that no, all the others are brothers and sisters. Everybody, Hindus, Muslims, etc. There is no question about it. And this was proved, very clearly proved, when the whole partition thing happened. Somebody very correctly pointed out from Punjab just now. I said 10 to 15 lakh people were killed during the partition riots. He correctly pointed out that not only were they killed, more than 50 lakh people were displaced. Displaced, very correct point. They were displaced during the partition riots. Now, during all that violence, what was Mahatma Gandhi doing? 15th August 1947, when the entire country was celebrating that now we have become free, Mahatma Gandhi was not in Delhi on that day. He was in Naukhali, Bangladesh, which is there, Naukhali. And he was trying to douse the communal flames. For many days, weeks he was there in Bangladesh that time. Trying to tell people to see reason, not fight with each other, not kill each other. That's what he was doing. You understand? Then he went on a fast also to stop this madness, even in Delhi. Because Delhi also, all that thing had happened, this whole communal conflagration had come. So that he was totally secular, no doubt about it. And so was Jawaharlal Nehru. That also we have to say. So was Jawaharlal Nehru, very secular. About other policies, etc., we have our differences. You understand? Third point about Gandhi. At least he brought this caste issue to the forefront. You know, he used to call the Dalits Harijans. You remember that? That was his way of saying. Harijans means children of God. Like that. Of course, now nobody likes to call Harijan. It's called Dalit. You know that. But anyway, he tried to bring this caste issue to the forefront. Of course, his way of dealing with the caste issue was not really the right way. Strong objections on differences with Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhi were there regarding that. All that history is there. We don't have time to go into that. But whatever it is, he at least brought this caste issue to the forefront of the freedom struggle. He also brought women into the forefront. Thousands of women used to take part in the freedom struggle. Thousands. And for that he used to take special efforts. So these were all the positive things about Mahatma Gandhi. Precisely because he was secular, that is why he was killed. That I said when placing. Precisely because he was secular, he was killed. You understand? But at the same time, all this having been said, the major criticism that can be made about Gandhi, Nehru and the entire Congress. What is that criticism? That criticism, and that criticism has got a lot of basis. That criticism is that they wanted the freedom struggle to remain in certain confines, not go beyond the Congress control, so that when the transfer of power occurs, power will go from the British to the Congress and in class terms to the bourgeoisie and the landlords. That is, the capitalists and the landlords would rule India even after the British left. That is the criticism, fundamental criticism that we have. You understand? There can be discussion on that. You understand? But that point is there. And you know, Bhagat Singh, 2 months before his martyrdom, before he was hanged, Bhagat Singh had written a very beautiful page. In fact, Bhagat Singh's writings, all of you should read. He was killed when he was only 23 years old. He was hanged at that time. His last appeal to youth, he has written that, you see, I don't want to see white Englishmen going from the country and being replaced by black Englishmen ruling over us. Bhagat Singh has written. Words I am using a little different. Yet actually his words were that if Lord Irwin were replaced by Sir Purushottam Thakurdas, India will not prosper. He had said it clearly. Who was Purushottam Thakurdas? One big capitalist at that time. So his idea was कि गोरे अंग्रेज निकाले और काले अंग्रेज अगर आए तो उससे कुछ फायदा नहीं होने वाला. You got it? So then he said that actually what has to happen is that power must go to the workers and the farmers of India, not to the capitalists and landlords. And this system must be broken, which the British has set up. Capitalist system and the feudal was of course much before the British came, but British kept it up. So that must be thrown out, and Bhagat Singh wrote, socialism has to come. Workers and peasants must rule and socialism must come. That is what our dream is. We want independence also and we want socialism also. But that was not Mahatma Gandhi or Jawaharlal Nehru's thing at all. You understand? Whatever they may have said, Jawaharlal Nehru talked about socialistic pattern of society, etc., etc. But nothing of that thing happened. And now we know what Bhagat Singh said did not happen. So now we are having all this Ambani, Adani and Modi. Correct, no? What we are having today is as a result of not going on Bhagat Singh path and going on the Congress path. That is the end result of it. That's what we should understand. So there were definitely a lot of positive things about Mahatma Gandhi that we respect, totally we respect. But this was the negative thing also. But let me tell you this. Now is not the time to talk anything negative about Mahatma Gandhi or Nehru. Let me say that and let me underline that. You are all leading activists of the BEFI. So for our understanding, we are talking about all this. You understand? But today, Modi is attacking Nehru, no? Left and right. Isn't it? Isn't it very funny? Who is his main enemy? A person who has died 60 years ago. When did Nehru pass away? 27 May 1964. 60 years now. Still he is attacking Nehru. For the last 10 years he has been doing that only. What does that show? That Nehru laid the foundations of a democratic and secular India. There is no doubt about it. We have to respect that. Of course, when Nehru was Prime Minister, he also did violence on democracy by dismissing the Kerala government of EMS Namboodiripad, 1959. So that also has to be understood. You understand? But that was the only example at that time. Later on, many such examples happened. My point is, each one has got positive elements, negative elements. Today is not the time to talk publicly about the negative elements of Gandhi and Nehru. You got the point? Because the times are different, the enemy is different. That enemy has to be concentrated upon. That's the point. Then, क्या भारत देश में कम्युनलिज्म का भविष्य है? Does communalism have a future? See, it has a present. It is up to all of us whether it will have a future or not. And all of us want to see that it doesn't have a future. It is buried once and for all. But for that, all of us will have to work tremendously. In the whole topic, this was there, Gandhi's thing was there. Then, one section, not a question, not related with this, but about the cooperative sector. From grassroots level to center, there are so many primary agricultural societies, co-op banks, poor marginal farmers are taking loans. And now cooperative ministry has been formed in the name of different amendments. Modi government is taking control of it for the survival of cooperatives and the poor peasants, saving them from money lenders, microfinance organizations. Can it be possible to mobilize the cooperatives along with the farmers movement? Because cooperative societies, banks are lending at subsidized rates to farmers. Yes, very briefly I will say, cooperation has a very important place in agriculture. It should have, and we are very much in favor of cooperatives. Very much in favor of cooperatives, because that is the only way that you can counter the whole corporate control. What is the alternative corporate control? All the farmers, etc., coming together in cooperatives. That is the best way that it can be done, certainly. But in the question you have asked one thing regarding this cooperative ministry started by the center. That ministry, I am sorry to say, it is not to help the cooperatives. Amit Shah is the cooperative minister. From that only you can make out. It is not at all to help the cooperative sector. It is to take control of the cooperatives in the various states by using the central power and then throw out cooperatives and give them in the hands of the corporates. That is what the central department is doing. You understand the point? So that let us not mix up this question with what Modi and Shah are doing. Cooperative is necessary, definitely we have to encourage it, no doubt. But what Modi and Shah are doing are not at all that. That ministry has been formed not to help cooperation, but to destroy cooperatives and give it to the corporates. Then the last question is, no doubts on this class, it is superb. Thank you, I don't know who has said it. So, will you speak a few words about the forthcoming Gramin Bandh? Yes. So, yes, that's a very good question. That's why I'm closing with that. See, on the 16th of February, all the various organizations have come together. All the farmers' organizations who led that Delhi struggle, iconic struggle, you know, Sayukta Kisan Morcha, in which the All India Kisan Sabha is the largest organization there. But more than 500 organizations are there in that. So they have come together. Then all the central trade unions, plus the federations, like the Bank Employees Federation, you know, like the Insurance Employees Association, like others, and all the other associations, everything. That means the entire spectrum of the trade union movement, workers and employees. A very historic thing happened on the 24th of August, 2023, that all of you are aware. For the first time in independent India, a joint convention of the workers and the farmers of India was organized in Delhi at the Talkotara Stadium. First time in India after independence. We used to have, you see, at the state level there used to be, district level there used to be, All India Convention. Yes, one was held earlier. One was held even earlier in 2022. But that was only 3 organizations that come together. One was CITU, one was Kisan Sabha, one was Agricultural Workers Union. So that way these 3 organizations had called a worker peasant convention in the same Talkotara Stadium. This was 1.5 years back. That was there. But this was a much broader thing, because all the trade unions were there. All the Kisan organizations were there, you see. So that was 24th August 2023. And then they gave a call for various struggles, etc. that is going on. Now what they have done is, all these together, they have given a call for 16 February, industrial and sectoral strike. Industrial and sectoral strike. And also for a rural Bharat Bandh. Gramin means rural. Rural Bharat Bandh and a industrial and sectoral strike. So this is the joint call of all the working class organizations except the BMS, of course, is not there, BJP one, and all the main farmers organizations. So that is the 16th February call on a certain demand charter that all of you know, it's come in all the various things, etc. Not going into that, but it is not only for economic demands. This last point I would like to stress. It is not, this 16th February Bandh is not only for economic demands, it is for them also, but it is for saving the Constitution of India. It is for saving secularism. It is for saving democracy. You know, these are all the things, that's all there in the note which I have circulated. All these are the points also which we have to understand, and that is very important, comrades, from this angle, that the trade union movement, including bank, including insurance, including state government, central government, etc., and the farmers, agricultural workers, everything, we have to definitely stop thinking only of economic demands. Otherwise, we can't change the country. Let me say that very clearly. And this is what is called as economism. Economism, that's there very much among us, all of us. You see, only our demands, but, you know, we should get pay rise, we should get more bonus, we should not be retrenched, all that. All, are they important or not? Yes, they are very important, no doubt. But are we only bank employees? Fundamental question. Are we not citizens of India? Are we not part of the working class? Are we not part of the working people? Does the country and its future not matter to us? You see, these are the points that we have to also understand and therefore surmount purely our economic demands. While fighting for them, we have to fight for something much larger than them, for the future of our country, for the constitution, and for the defense of democracy and secularism. So these are the things that we have to do, and that is why the 16th February Gramin or Rural Bharat Bandh and the industrial strike must be made a great success, and all of you will contribute surely your own strength towards making it so. Thank you very much.
So this class, so you all know, even though the subject was regarding grave danger of communalism, while replying the questions, every other points also came. See the role of Indian National Congress during the independence period, independence struggle, role of Gandhiji. Not only that, even regarding cooperative sector, and at last regarding our 15th strike. So everything is covered. As rightly pointed out by one of our comrades, it was a super class and there will be no doubts regarding this. And it will be of great use for us in our future in this trade union movement and also during this 2024 that election period. Anyhow, on behalf of all the comrades present here, I extend a very sincere gratitude to Comrade Dhawale for attending this class and spending his, what to say, in your, especially during this time, that is at the time of this election and all, you have come here and spent a lot of time with us and explained to us. Lord, thank you very much, comrade. With this, we are concluding today's session, and as already mentioned by our General Secretary, tomorrow's session it is to be, we have to start the session at sharp 9:30. Some of our comrades, they have told us that an introduction session is also to be there. Yeah, that also we have to do it, and we have to conclude the session in time. So I request all the comrades to be very sharp. Many of the comrades are staying here. There will be no problem. Only 3 women comrades and also along with them Rajivan and Jern is there. So you are staying some 15 kilometers away from here. And anyhow, I think all of you can reach here by 9:30. We can start our class tomorrow, our session tomorrow at 9:30. Okay, comrades, today's session is over. Thank you very much.